Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Chatham County Police Department Eastside Community Meeting. My name is Betsy Nolan. I'm the Public Information Officer for the department, and we want to quickly let you know how you can join the discussion, which will be the major part of this meeting. All you'll need to do is simply raise your hand, unmute your microphone. You'll do that with your cursor, and we'll try to call on you in the order that we see your question. Or you can type a question into the chat box, or you can also send us a question on Facebook, and we'll try to answer all of those this evening as we get them. Now we're going to turn our presentation over to Captain Nick Ojanovac, who is the captain of the Chatham County Police Department East Precincts. Captain?
Thanks, Betsy. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening. I'd like to thank everyone for participating tonight. One of our crime analysts has put together a PowerPoint presentation, excuse me, which contains crime-specific information for the East Chatham Precinct. So what I'd like to go ahead and do first is just go through the PowerPoint. Betsy.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to advance the PowerPoint here.
Okay, you see your,
I got
there you
it.
go. Okay.
Okay, so as you can see, the total numbers for 2020 crime stats. Your property crime will be in yellow, and the violent crimes will be indicated in the reddish pinkish. We've had a steady decrease over the last 3 years, as you can see, with 2020 coming in at a 23.9% decrease over 2019. Violent crimes for the last 4 years, we've had a slight increase in violent crimes, and that's mainly due to aggravated assault, whether they're domestic related or non-domestic related. For whatever reason, those have spiked the last few years, which has given us an increase in our violent crime numbers. But altogether, everything either remained steady or decreased or increased just a slight bit. Property crimes for the last 4 years from 2016 to 20. As you can see, we do have a downward trend in property crimes with a total of 25% decrease in 2020. Of note, we should talk about the thefts from vehicles. Last year, you can see we had 154 thefts from vehicles. I'm sorry, 2019. Last year, we had that number down to 91. But as you can see, 95% of those were still unlocked vehicles. So we're giving the criminals an opportunity to enter a vehicle unhindered and take whatever they want out of there. You can see again the auto thefts, about 35% of them, the keys were left in the vehicle. Again, it makes it very easy for the criminal to access that vehicle and take it. Of note again, theft of packages did increase from 19 to 20. We had about 30 more or 26 more crimes. And I'm guessing that may have been due to the pandemic with everyone ordering, shopping online, having a lot of stuff delivered. It offered a lot more opportunity for criminals to come grab those packages. Okay, again, going back to guns stolen from vehicles, as you can see, all the locations where we had an entering auto with a firearm taken are designated by the pistols on the map. So in 2020, we had 19 guns stolen from 16 different locations. And as you can see, 100% of those vehicles were unlocked. So what we're doing is we're leaving firearms in vehicles for criminals to enter and easily take and then potentially use them in another crime, somewhere in the county or somewhere in the state or wherever. In 2019, we had 36 guns taken from 32 different locations. And as you can see, about 99.9% of them were unlocked as well. So I'm happy with the decrease that we had in the number of guns taken, but I still would like to see us either A, not leaving the firearm in the vehicle, or B, locking the vehicle. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and the East Chatham Precinct has 5 different individual beats. So what these maps designate is total number of Part 1 crimes for the year 2020. And if you can kind of, I'll leave this up for a minute, if you kind of look at your particular area. if you're looking, you see an orange area on this particular beat. And there's a slide later on that will explain most of this. But Whitmarsh Center is in orange, and that's an area that contains the Publix as well as the Walmart. So you're going to see a lot of shoplifting crime there. Doesn't necessarily mean that there's a lot of crime there. It's just we have a lot of shopliftings there. Here are the numbers for beat 2. Again, relatively low numbers. I mean, you're talking about some of these neighborhoods have 1 and 2 crimes for the entire year. So we're doing pretty well. We'll go to beat 3. We do have a few hot spots in beat 3. But again, there's a slide that will kind of break the crime down in those particular areas. Beat 4 is relatively quiet. Again, you see the red area, Walmart, Newton's Corner. You have Walmart and Sam's Club there. And again, when we get to this slide coming up in about 2 slides, you'll see how many shopliftings we had, which puts that over the 30 Part 1 crimes for the year. And then beat 5. Okay, so this is where I was telling you about the particular neighborhoods that may have been in red or orange. As you can see, if you go down to Walmart, Newton's Corner, shoplifting crimes are designated in white, and you can see there's 51 shoplifting crimes for 2020. Again, Whitmarsh Center, same thing, there's a Walmart there. There was 18 shopliftings. And relative to all crimes, total crimes, the majority of these crimes were property crimes. There's very few violent crimes in those areas, even though they were showing a larger number of total crime. So around a year or so ago, Chatham County PD created a strategic enforcement team. It consists of 5 officers and 1 sergeant. And what they do is they're intelligence-led policing. So they'll coordinate with our crime analyst, go through the reports, determine where and when particular crimes are occurring, the modes of how they're occurring, who could possibly be suspects, and then they do directed enforcement in those areas at those times. So we do our homework and try to predict where we're going to have some crime, and we send this unit out to try to enforce that, keep that crime down. They also do directed traffic enforcement for us. So if we get a complaint of speeding in a neighborhood, we'll do a request for the strategic enforcement team to go over and do some directed traffic enforcement. It's worked out fairly well for us so far. They've been pretty productive, so we're happy with that. Again, Chief Hadley stresses community engagement, community interaction within CCPD. It's one of our cornerstones. We do encourage our officers to get out on a daily basis when they're not answering calls and interact with the citizens in the different neighborhoods and whatnot, just on a casual basis, strike up a conversation, and really try to build those bonds that we're looking for to make our enforcement efforts strong. We need your help, and it's good to build those bonds and have those connections. As you can see, during calendar year 2020, Eastside officers made a total of 2,714 non-call related citizen contacts, or an average of 7.4 each day. So we're happy with that. Our young officers seem to be, they bought into the concept of community policing, and we've gotten a lot of comments positive that our officers are out there and they're seeing our officers and they're interacting with them. So we encourage them to keep that up. And the blue dots, this is the East Chatham Precinct. In the white, the shaded areas of the city of Savannah or Thunderbolt. So all of those blue dots that you see on the map for the precinct itself is where we have made citizen contacts. And you can tell they're pretty evenly distributed. So we're in all the neighborhoods. Obviously, that's me at the top. I'm the East Chatham Precinct Commander. I have 4 lieutenants. I have 4 watches. I have Lieutenant Marcus Graves, Lieutenant Bill Sharpley, Lieutenant Joseph Wright, and Lieutenant Timmy Thompson, and they each run a watch of officers. They'll have two sergeants on each watch. So here their staff. These are my precinct sergeants. They do a great job for us. Couldn't be prouder. They're very top-notch people, and we work well together. So the East Chatham actually the CCPD has 2 neighborhood liaison officers. The neighborhood liaison officer for the East Chatham precinct is Danielle Pimentel. She is on this meeting. We just had a little difficulty, so she can't come up on the screen. However, this is her contact information, and what our neighborhood liaison officer does is any particular issues you may be having in your particular neighborhood, whether it's maybe a code enforcement problem, an animal problem, problems with a neighbor, speeding, anything that she can sit down and work on with you. That is what she has been tasked to do. I know some of you have probably interacted with her before. If you ever need her for anything, here's her contact information. Certainly just either call her or send her an email, and she'll be able to help you out. And that's it.
Thank you, Captain. And I should have let everyone know that as we were starting that Officer Pimentel is on the meeting with us. We can't see her, but we can hear her, and she can hear you and your questions. Also, of course, Chief Jeff Hadley is with us, and also Assistant County Manager Michael Kegler has joined us as well. And we see that we have a lot of you who have joined us, and we want to hear your questions and your comments. So again, if you raise your hand, you'll see an icon there that will allow you to do that. We'll unmute you, and you can ask your question that way, or if you prefer to type a question in the chat box, we'll address them there as well. Chief, while we're waiting to see if we have any questions, do you have a few words that you'd like to say?
Yes, thank you, Betsy. First of all, thanks to Captain Ojanovic and his team for putting together this presentation and the wonderful job that they do on a daily basis on the east side of Chatham County. I just want to welcome and thank the citizenry that have dialed in tonight and have questions for us. We're here to answer them the best way we can. If we can answer them, we will keep a running log of questions we aren't able to answer right now over tonight, and we'll make sure that we follow up with you and get you the answers that you request. I appreciate Assistant County Manager Michael Kegler getting online, and we just look forward to continuing our engagement with the citizens in any way, shape, form, or fashion. This is just one platform that allows us to do so. Obviously, with the pandemic, it has put a little bit of a wrinkle in our ability to go out and engage in the manner in which we would prefer, which would be face-to-face human interaction. But aside from that, I'm very proud of our department. In the 3 years that we've been up and running, I consistently hear positive commentary from citizens relative to our presence and the manner in which we treat the public. So, and our officers need to hear that. And I think the citizens do a great job of supporting them out there in the community and telling them that they appreciate them. But if we're not getting the job done, we also want to hear that as well. So again, thank you. And I'm here to answer any questions that anyone may have with myself.
Well, Chief and Captain and Officer Pimentel, we do have a question from Priya. Priya, your microphone, I believe you have unmuted it, so we're happy to hear your question. Priya, do you want to try and unmute your microphone again? We're not able to hear you. Okay,
Can
Priya.
you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, I apologize about that. Good evening.
Good evening.
So I have more of concern. So I live in Twickenham, born and raised, and since January 1st of this year to February, the end of February, my block has had 8 police reports. And We have asked for extra patrol, and it was only given one time. And so I just want to know, how can I go about getting together about the crime that's an issue? Like, I had a bullet hole in the hood of my car January 1st. We had 8 teenagers try to break into my husband's vehicle. We had several police reports about prowlers in our neighbor's yard looking into the windows. So how can we go about getting extra patrol, and what else should I do in regards to having 8 police reports in 2 months?
Hey, Bria, this is Officer Pimentel. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so you actually live in the city of Savannah's jurisdiction, but if you can send me your information in a private message here, I can make sure that that gets to a Savannah officer who can make contact with you and help you handle that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bria. We appreciate you being here. And let's see, looking now to see if we have any other questions. I don't see any, but we certainly want to ask anyone who may have a question to either raise your hand or type one in the chat box. So we're going to continue to look for questions. Chief, Captain, Officer Pimentel, do either of you have anything else that you might like to address that the community might be interested in?
I have a few comments if I can. So yes. I just want to, as a point of discussion with those that are on the call, that again, we are only in our started our 4th year of reestablishing the county police department. And so I like to use the terminology, we're still putting Humpty Dumpty back together again. And so with that said, there may be little gaps that we may discover in terms of communication or a lack of connection with certain neighborhoods, because we haven't been able to establish those relationships either with the HOA or neighborhood leaders that have been in those communities for a long time. So again, we just continue to encourage outreach, questions, concerns, criticisms, so we can do the best that we can do for the citizens out there in unincorporated Chatham County. I think to Bria's question relative to her street, I think there still exists some confusion in terms of which jurisdiction services what, because the city of Savannah lines aren't necessarily always contiguous with each other and vice versa. So, but we're always willing to assist no matter what. So if you have a confusion about who is your police department or what jurisdiction you live in, certainly you can email me, jhadley@chathamcounty.org. It's very easy to find out which jurisdiction you live in. And if you have a concern and it's not in our jurisdiction, we'll make sure that it gets passed along to the agency that it needs to, and you get the service that you deserve. So,
thank you, Chief. And are there any other questions, comments, or discussion? Because we are still looking for those and happy to entertain those. I don't see anything yet. Captain or Officer Pimentel, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Daniel, tell them about any events that we may be thinking about doing coming up this year, if you would. I know, COVID has certainly taken a toll on our community interaction, but we do have some stuff that we're going to try to plan this year. Restrictions allowing. So maybe give them a little update or overview of what we're trying to plan this year, Daniel.
Yeah, so for 2019, I believe, we had some events like Shop with a Cop during Christmas time. There was a toy drive for children at the hospital. We have a regular Coffee with a Cop, trunk or treat. So we all hope to recreate those events again this year, COVID restricting. But we're also open to any types of ideas that the community may have for different events that we can hold. Anything that's outside of the box. And also invite us to your events. So we're more than happy to come participate in anything you guys may have that includes your neighborhood meetings. And my info was at the end of this PowerPoint if you guys don't already have it. So I'm happy to take any ideas, questions, or concerns from anyone.
Thanks, Danielle.
And I'm looking, I do not see anyone else raising their hand, and I don't see any other comments or questions in the chat box or on Facebook. But certainly you can reach us if you're not comfortable in a public forum. You can reach any of us through the emails that you were given, the phone numbers, and also through Facebook Messenger if you would like. Oh, let's see. It looks, I want to just make sure quickly. Oh, we do have a new question. David Harper would like to know if we can discuss any trends in crime for the Islands area, which, David, we did have part of that in our PowerPoint, so I don't know if there's a specific trend that you're looking for, and the PowerPoint, which provides quite a bit of detail, is going to be available on our website as part of this presentation, so you'll be able to review that. But Captain Janovac, were there some maybe highlights that you wanted to hit again of things that are of special concern to the islands?
Sure. I think what we saw from the PowerPoint was we did see an increase last year of theft of packages. So that's becoming a big thing, especially with online shopping and whatnot. A lot of packages are obviously dropped at the front door, and some people don't have a ring cam or some kind of doorbell camera. And so it's an easy crime for someone to commit. There's a lot of opportunity there. So we did see an uptick in that. Luckily, we did see a downswing, though, however, crime trend-wise in entering autos and some of the other property crimes that we generally see on the islands or in the islands area. So trend-wise, again, there's a decrease in our property crime, about a 25% decrease, which we were very happy about. But that particular category, the theft of mail or packages, has consistently went up over the last year or two. And I think that's due to the amount of online shopping that everyone's doing now, and because everyone was home and had to order online. So that was one of the things that we saw.
And it may not be tomorrow, it may be a day or two once we're able to get the video uploaded from this meeting. But David, you'll be able to review the meeting and you'll see those crime trends in detail. And that meeting will be available when you go to the Chatham County Police Department website under the Citizen Resources tab. See a link there to the meeting that you can view again. And continuing to look for questions or people with their hands raised. And we'll give maybe another minute for anyone to raise their hand or type a question into the comments box. And then if you think of something, once we wrap up the meeting, of course, again, we are available through any of the email addresses that we gave you, or through Facebook Messenger, or of course, you can call any of our precincts. I do not see any more questions. Are there any final thoughts, Chief, Captain, or Officer Pimentel, that any of you would like to share?
I just want to say thanks again and for those that did get on the call. And it didn't matter if we didn't have a lot of questions. It didn't matter if we didn't have a lot of people. We connected with someone tonight. And so really just appreciate the whole team putting this PowerPoint together, getting the platform up and ready. This is something that we can replicate into the future. And good team effort tonight. Appreciate the citizens. Appreciate Chatham County Police Department, the manager's office for being online. And if there aren't any more questions, thank Captain Janovac and his team there, and hope everyone enjoys a nice sunny evening. And we look forward to seeing y'all into the future. And again, if anything we can do for you, just give us a shout.
Thank you. And so with that, we'll wrap up this meeting, and we look forward to working with you and hearing from any of you who may need us at any time. Thanks, everyone. Good night.